Okay, so for this class, like I mentioned earlier, we're going to be creating an API for a task manager app. We've gone through the creation of the task manager app, and I've defined a model that has three fields. That's the name of the task, the description of the task, and the status of the task to let you know whether the task is completed or not. So yeah, I defined a default value for the status of the task, and the reason why I did that is that by default, if I didn't do this, by default it's going to be true. Is it true or false? But it's going to have a default value, Shasha. And what we want is that if a user is adding a a new task, by default it is not completed, right? It is
Yeah.
after they have added it and done it that they can come and check it as completed. So you always want to ensure that it is false when the user adds it. Awesome. So after creating this, the next thing that we're going to do to create our API is a serializer. Now, what is a serializer? I think I explained it in the last class, but let's go over it again. So primarily, what a serializer does is that it takes these models that we have here. You know, in one of our classes, I was explaining something like where we did models dot objects dot all. Oh crap. Okay. So we did something like this in one of our classes, right? And
Yes.
I was explaining that it's going to return a query set and yada 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 and all of those things. So basically, if you want to create your API, your REST API, you primarily want to use what's the name, JSON. Now you can use other formats, but we are going to be sticking with JSON. And in order for your query sets to be converted to JSON, because when you do models of object.all and all of those things, it does not return JSON to you. It returns a list in angle brackets and all of those things. And you cannot pass that over the HTTP, over the web, basically, right? The HTTP methods are looking for JSON. So now, what do? You create a serializer for it. The serializer basically takes the query set and then it converts it for you into a JSON format, a format that can be used over the web. So let's start by creating a serializer for our model. So what do? We say we first of all import the serializer. I'll take from REST framework, import serializers. Zainab, are you there?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Where is this error coming from? I think it's just VS Code messing with me. Okay, awesome. Then the next thing is to import your model, because what you want to do is to serialize your model. You want to convert your model, the query set and all of those things into a
It
JSON
is.
format. Awesome. So you have to import your model. To do that, you say from then the model file, models, you import, what's the name of our model? Let me check real quick.
Ask.
Task. Thank you. So import task, right? Then we go ahead to
Yes.
define a class, and I would always suggest that you give your serializer a name that is associated with the model. So for instance, if you have a model that is called recipe, you can call your serializer recipe serializer. If it's a model that's called users, you can say user serializer, so you can at least easily identify them basically. So say task serializer, then it's going to inherit from serializers dot model serializer. Wait. Now when we have this, now for serializers you can define fields. on your the same way you define your fields in your models. Let's quickly go back to models. So the same way you define fields here, you can actually define fields in your serializers as well. But we'll not do that in this class. Maybe in the next class we are going to define fields because I want to keep this class as simple as possible. So what we'll do is define another class inside this class, and it's called meta. Okay, so let me just try to break whatever is happening down. This class meta, I didn't just give it a name by myself, right? It is an inner class that is expected by this class that we're inheriting from. You know, when I was explaining models, I was telling you and Joseph that your model is inheriting from this model class, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So in the same way, this serializer is inheriting from this model serializer class. I think you understand now. So it already has some built-in stuff in it. So you see if I over it now, you show a class serializer, it's just a regular serializer, except that, and then you can read more about it. I think if you press F12 for this guy, I'm coming. Okay, yeah. So if you press F12, it should open up the file for you. And if you keep scrolling, let's see, you should see the class I'm talking about. Oh boy, it has a lot of classes in it and a lot of stuff in it. But primarily, if you keep scrolling, you can see some of the methods. These are methods that you can override since we are dealing with OOP and all of those things. So you can just go through it during
In
your
the
spare
class.
time. Yeah, you can go through it during your spare time to understand what is going on behind the scenes of what we are doing. Great. So now he's expecting this class meta, and inside the meta class, we are going to define two major things right now. We define the model that we want to serialize, and the model is task. That's what we have over here. We define that, and then we define the fields of the model that we want to serialize. So fields. Let me give it an empty list right now. Okay. So now this can either be a list or a tuple. Basically, you know what a tuple is, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't need to explain that. So it can either be a list or a tuple. So what it takes is like the name suggests, the fields. So now your model, in our model, we have three fields currently: task name, task description, and is completed. These are the three fields we defined, and by default, an ID field is added to it automatically. So we can say we have four fields, right? Zainab, are you
Yes.
there?
Yes. Yes.
Okay,
The
good.
ID.
So we have four fields. Now,
Yeah, I can hear you.
okay, no problem. So now, by default, you can decide that you don't want to serialize all the fields. You can decide, okay, you only want to serialize the task description. So you come and say task description like this. And when in your API, what's going to be returned is simply the task description, no more, no less. All the other fields will not be returned. They will be in your database, but it will not be returned with your API because they were not serialized. So only the serialized fields will be returned, and we are going to test all of this as well. So for now, we can decide to what's the name? Return all the fields by doing this underscore underscore all underscore underscore, right? And it's going to take care of all the fields. So the ID, the name, the description, and then the status. Every single thing is going to um, be included. Every single thing is going to be serialized. So with this, we have created our serializer. Now, the next thing to do is to create the
What
view.
about the task description? Is it going to
The,
be serialized?
the what?
You know, the task description with the all. Is it also going to be serialized?
Yeah, it's going to be serialized. So, um, let me explain it
Hello,
again.
can you?
So now, if yeah, I can hear you. I think you're having network issue. Okay, so let me try and explain it again. So if you decide to use a tuple or a list, then you're going to be writing out the fields that you want. You want task description, you want ID, you want task name. It's up to you. But if you use this underscore all reference, basically what it does is that it's going to take care of
Yeah.
all the fields. So it simply means that all the fields in your model will be serialized. Do you understand now?
Yes.
Okay. So let
Yeah,
me.
I know all the fields are going to be serialized. Wait, task description, is it also a field?
Yes, it is a field. Look at it over here. This task
Oh.
description is a field. Do you
Okay,
understand?
okay. Uh,
Yeah, so it's a field.
yes.
Okay, good. So now let's go over it again. When you are creating your API, first things first, your model. When you have your model, then you serialize your model by creating a serializer. You create a file called serializers.py inside your app, not your project. This is your project over here, and this is your app over here. So you create a serializers.py file. Then after that, you create a view, your view, right? You create your view. So let's go right. So in the view, what do we want to do? We want to create um okay. So what we want basically the first functionality that we want to add is for users to be able to um add their tasks, maybe post tasks to the database and then view the tasks that are in the database. So we start like this from REST framework. You know we installed this the last time.
Yes.
So the decorators, then we import API.
API.
Okay. Then we import response. You know what? Don't let me import all the unnecessary things first. We import it as we are going along so it will not confuse anybody. So first things first, we need our models. Um, so we need our models and then we need our serializer. Okay. I misnamed it
Is it not
serializer.
serializers?
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Okay. So we do that and then we define um our view. So let's call it, what should we call it this time around? Okay, let's just say task list view. And by default it's going to take in requests. So for now we're just going to pass. Just a second, I didn't set up my terminal. Okay, so now sorry, let me just quickly open my command prompt. Or let me click on it. Okay. So give me 1 minute please. Just want to quickly open up our code and my command prompt so I can run it. Okay. We already have this. So env create. What the fuck is this? I forgot to do all of this before the class.
Mm.
Okay, so while that is going on, now the essence of this API view, I mentioned that an API view is a decorator. So normally, if we did not include these decorators, we would have to start adding the functionalities by ourselves to make the whole thing an API. So that's where the decorator comes in. The decorator assists you with specific functionalities. So just think of it like the decorator was created for X purpose. So when you add the decorator to your function, right? By default, the X purpose would be added to your function. So the decorator will just say adds. We use the add symbol and then the name of the decorator, API view, and it is a function, so we invoke it. Now we're going to take in two methods, two HTTP methods. We're going to take in post and we're going to take in get. Yes. So what do we want to do basically? We want to use this singular view to handle two HTTP methods. Now, if you want, you can decide that you only want to handle the post method here and remove this. It's up to you. You can also decide that you want to handle just the get method and remove the other one. It's sincerely up to you. But um, I want us to handle both of them simultaneously here. So to handle the post request, we'll start with the post. We'll say if request dot method is equals to post. Okay. So we're going to pass again, just so I can explain. So now, initially, if I was only defining the post method in this view, I would not need to pass this check, this condition. But since I'm defining two methods here, I need to be able to differentiate between the methods that are coming in. I want to know if the user is making a post request, that is, if the user is adding a task, or if the user is making a get request, in the sense that the user is trying to view a task, right? So that's why I'm passing this check. Now, um, when we are talking of the post methods, basically, what's the best way to go about this? What's the way to go about this? Okay, so if okay, let me explain where this is coming from as well. I think let's start from here. So I'm saying if request dot method, the request primarily is this parameter that we passed in here in the beginning. Every view takes in a request parameter. So that's it. And then we're trying to check the method of the request. So if it is post, then we're going to perform the operations that we want to perform. So the first thing that we're going to do is to serialize the data that is coming in, right? Because when the user is sending in his data, might be JSON, whatever, we want to deserialize it to convert it back to a previous set. So now when we are sending data to the user, we're going to serialize it and convert it to JSON format so the web can take care of it and all of that. But now that the user is sending in data to us, because by the time we test it now, what we're going to send is JSON. What this serializer is going to do is that it's going to convert it from that JSON format, right, to a format that our model can accept, that our database will accept,
Sorry,
right?
can you come again? What?
Okay, so where did you lose me?
Um, you said there's, I think, a deserializer.
Okay, let's go over it again. So now, I said by default, if assuming the user just wants to check the list of tasks that are available, right? What the
Yes.
serializer is going to do is that it's going to serialize our model, the query set, and turn it into JSON format so that the user can view it, so that the front-end developer, whatever, can view it and use it. But now that it is a
Okay.
post request, what is happening is that the user is sending in JSON, or the front-end developer is sending JSON to you. And it is not JSON that is in your database. Your model by default is not JSON. It will return a query set to you. So this serializer will deserialize. So you can say it's doing more than one
Okay.
job now. So you're going to deserialize it and then convert it into the format that um our project can accept. That is the database can accept, the model can accept. Do you understand that now?
Yes.
Okay, great. So the first thing we're going to do now is to take in the data that the user is passing in. So we're going to say serializer. This is a variable, by the way, is equals to task serializer, and we're going to pass in the data to it. So we say data is equals to request dot data. Okay. So where is the request dot data? I mean, what does the request dot data mean? The request simply means the request that is being made, like I mentioned, this parameter over here, and they were getting the data from it. So the data is whatever the user is handling. Now this is enough. I mean, this from here, this is enough to convert it from JSON back to the format that we need to him to store it in our database. So after this, what we want to do now is to check. We want to check if it is valid. So this is the same way you handle a form basically, Sha. Hopefully we get to forms. I'll try my best to make sure you get to forms. So right now, what is happening is that I've defined a variable that will take in the data, but I need to make sure that the data is valid. We need to make sure that the user does not send in rubbish to our database and all of that. So what we're going to do is we're going to say if serializer dot is valid. No. So this is boolean. Sorry. And by default it's either going to return true or false. So if it is valid, what do you think we should do next?
Um, if it is valid. Um, so this task realizer is deserializing it, yeah?
Yes, basically that's what it is doing because it is a post request.
Eh,
Okay,
okay,
just let me don't use serialize and deserialize. Just know that when it is a push request, the serializer will serialize it from JSON to the format that we need. That's our query set. Just think of it like that.
okay.
Yeah,
Alright. If it's valid, we should be able to save it to the database.
yeah, awesome. So we simply save it. So we say serializer dot save, and then we're going to do. So this will immediately save it to our database. And the next thing we need to do, once we've saved it, we want to return a response basically, because when you save it you need to let your users, it's just like when you log in, then sometimes you see login successful and all of those things, so you need to send a response. So what's the response? I'm going to say, we'll say return, and there's a
We
function
just
here.
say,
Huh?
oh, okay, there's a function.
What did you want to say?
Nothing.
No, no,
And
let
then
me hear.
literally say, task saved successfully or something.
Oh yeah, I, if we have time we'll go to the part where we define our own messages, but we'll say response is a function that we need to import. So the response function is what we're going to use to send our responses basically. So to import, we'll say from REST framework, sorry, dot response. We're going to import response. Awesome. So this should clear in a minute. Now, in our response, what we want to return, number one, we want to return the data because this is an API, right? It's not like we are doing anything on the front end. So once we return the data that the user passed in, so say serializer.data, then we are going to return the status. What do I mean by status? I don't know if you've seen a 404 error before or a 500 error.
Yeah, 404.
Yeah. So those are known as HTTP status, and each of them have their own meaning. So for instance, if you see something like 200 OK, 200 basically means that um, the request you
Successful.
sent was okay. There's no issue with it, no problem with it. And when you see 201, 201 simply means that you have created something. And that is what we are doing here. When the user is sending a post request, the user is trying to create. So we need to send a status that befits that purpose. So say status is equals to shit is raining here. So say status dot http underscore 201. So you need to cram this thing um underscore created. Okay. So like I was saying, I said you don't need to cram most of these things. You can just tap on it, and then if you press F12 on your keyboard, it should take you to somewhere just like what I did with serializer, model serializer, where you can read more about it and understand what is going on behind it. So this status, we need to import it as well. So we just say from REST framework import status. Let me just copy this. Status. Okay, not from dot response, please. I need to get rid of this. So from REST framework import status, and then we have this. So now, if we've saved it, then we're going to return this response. But if it is not valid, right, then we're going to return an error. So we'll just say return. We'll use the response function again. And this time around, what are we going to return? Serializer dot what? What do you think we should return from the serializer?
If you get an error, 404.
Okay. 404 is not the error to use in this scenario anyway. 404 simply means you cannot find the page. Yes, now you don't. Okay.
Okay,
If
this one.
I have time, I'm going to try and get the list of errors and all of those. But primarily, we say serializer dot errors, and then return the it's going to return the error message that's been specified. So Django already kind of takes care of the error message to be specified. Maybe later on we'll try and um, put our own default messages. Sha. So initially when it was okay, we sent the data. Now we're going to send the error, and then the status is going to be 400. 400 simply means bad request, because what we're trying to check is that is the serializer, I mean, is your data valid? So if your data is not valid, then it means it's bad. Is invalid, so that's bad request. So we just say status is equals to http 400 bad request. Okay, so we have this going now, and we should be ready for a post request. Okay, yeah, we have this going now, and we should be ready for. What's this? One is just VS Code, I beg. So let me run this. One over 3 by 7. This should run. Okay, so once we've done this now, the next thing we need to do is create our URL. The URL that is going to go to this particular view, and we'll come here. You open your project, that is this over here, the first one you created, and then you look for the urls.py file inside it, right? So now what we simply want to do is we want to point the API URL for this part to our to the URLs of py file that is there. I think we've done this before, so it should be pretty easy. We'll say path, and then we're going to say task, and let me say API slash tasks, and then we're going to come here and we'll say include. So include is a function that you import. I know I think I've mentioned it before, but just so you don't forget, include is a function that you import, and what you want to include is task manager dot urls.
That's yours.
Yeah. So task manager is the name of your app. So if your app is named something else, this will be changed to something else, and this other part of it, it points to the URLs of py file. I'm still trying to understand why this has no flow. Oh, status dot. Like supposed to status dot, because I was looking at it, it was bugging me. Okay, I should clear any mistake. So now that we have done this, the next thing we need to do is come to our task manager. That is your app. Then you say from django.urls import path. So where do I get from django.urls? It's simply the same thing that we have here. See from django.urls import path. But we don't need this include function. That is why I'm not going to import it. Then once we have done that, we can simply come here and then say URL patterns is equals to, we create a list. Now we create a path for our API. So we say list because this is the list view of our API. So list slash, is this slash? Let me just confirm. So let me
But
say
then you
slash.
said the path name has to be the same.
You said what?
I thought you said the path name they have to be the same.
The path name?
Can you hear me? Yeah, like that task supposed to be like the same.
No, 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 no. I think you misunderstood. Okay. So basically, now in order to access, what I was saying is that if um, just let me try to just get this. So now if you leave this place empty, right, then
Mm-hmm.
whatever you have here is going to be the full path to it. So that means if your website is like udemy.com, if that's the name of your website, right, then the person only needs to go to slash lists in order to access this our endpoint here.
Okay. Hello. Hello, I can't hear you. Hello.
I'm playing it back. Okay, so like I was explaining, I said if we had an empty path initially in that place, then what we have here, this is how the your user will be able to access your website. But for instance, if we have this path, the way we defined it here, where is it? Like this. Then in order for your user to access your view, your endpoints, that's this view that we have over here. What
View API slash task.
the user would have to do this would go all the way
Mm-hmm.
to API slash tags slash list, basically.
Oh,
So
so basically,
what did you say?
the one for the
Oh man,
okay.
sorry, I can't hear you clearly. What did you say?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, and I was like, can you hear me now? What I was just saying that the core URL comes before the app's URL, right?
Yeah,
From what you just
basically.
explained.
Yeah, the project URL, that's the core URL. It comes before the app's URL
Okay.
because it's from the core that you link to your app. Okay. So the next thing that we need to do is to define the view that we want to be associated with this path. So let me just quickly import the view. I'm going to say from what's the name of our okay from the views import what's the name of our view again? Task, I think it's task lists view if I'm correct.
Task task list view.
Yeah. Okay. So just want to paste it here. We'll put the name of our view and then finally we give it a name. So the name is what we are going to use to associate this path, right? So the name should be in string and I'm just going to say task lists. What's going on? Task dash lists. Great. So put a comma at the end of it. Awesome. So with this, we should be able to access our URLs. So let's see.
Okay, so I might have to join with my phone because my this thing, my AirPods battery is down. My can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Keep going.
Hello,
I can hear you, please.
can you hear?
Yes, yes, yes.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Hello,
God, I beg.
hi. Hello, can you hear me?
Okay, let me.
Wow.
Yes, I can hear you. I can. Let me just pause this. Hold on.
Hello.
From the recording. Yeah. Okay. So now, after we created the URLs and all of that, yeah, we want to test our API currently. So we can see that by default, Django will give you this guy over here. So copy it. To copy, you can highlight it and then right click. So if we paste it in our address bar, it should not take this long. Okay, so if you paste now, you see page not found as expected. So go to slash API slash what I call it tasks slash lists.
Then slash list.
Okay, task or tasks. Okay. this?
Oh wow.
Okay. I know why. I know why. Okay, so currently by default, I know I mentioned earlier that your browser sends a get request by default.
Yes.
Yeah. So we are going to use and the only thing we have right now is postman. I mean is the post
Post.
requests, right? Although I still don't think that should cause an error. But the only thing we have right now is a push request. So we are going to test the post requests right now. So API slash star slash list, and then so to use postman, basically you come here first of all, you select the type of request that you want to send. So you can see there are many. So we're using a post, and then for a post we have to send in data. So we come to the body over here, click on body, and we have to send in data. So there are different types of data that you can send. You can send binary, you can send GraphQL, you can send form data, whatever it is that you want, basically. Oh boy, I hope network is not good. Okay, because you can see I've actually tested this guy before. So now, when you click on raw data by right, you come to this place and select the type of raw data that you want. So we are going to send in JSON because that's what our application is expecting, right? So let me just clear all of this guy. So we are sending in JSON. So first of all, we'll open our brackets. Then the fields that we have serialized, those are the fields that we are going to send. So if we are saying we have the first field, we have task name. So what should I call it? Um, clean the house. Then the second one, task description. We'll say um, room, kitchen, bathroom, basically. And then for the is completed part. So by default, if you don't send in that is completed parts, I believe it should work. The reason why I said that is because the is completed parts, we gave it a default value of false, right? So whether or not we send in a parameter, in fact by default you don't want your user to fill in that field when they are creating a task, so it should work. So we click on send over here, and then sending our request. Okay, so you can see that it sent the full thing. The ID, we didn't add the ID, but it still sends the ID. It sends this completed part because we have given it a what's the name, a default value. So now this old task is currently in our database right now. So you can go ahead and we can still add another task if we want. We don't have a get we've not defined anything for the get method, so we cannot test that one just yet. But let's just say teach Django, and then come here, we say API stuff. We can just come here. Where are you there? Hello? Oh wow. Okay, you're there. Thank God. Then we can define these completed parts by
I said
ourselves.
you wrote tech Django. Isn't it teach Django?
What did you say? I wrote what?
I said tech Django. I thought you wanted to write teach
Oh,
Django.
doesn't really matter. Just example basically.
Okay.
So yeah, we can define it as true. Let's say we want it to be true, and then when we send the request, you can see that it is returning true. So why is it returning the data that we sent? That's because in our view, where is our view? In this place,
Yeah.
we said if it's successful, return the serializer.data. So that's why it's
Mhm.
returning that as a response. Awesome. And you can see what is the status 201 created,
So
because that is status that we
yeah,
specified. So now let's try to send in something wrong,
a bad
a
request.
bad request. Yeah. So let's say we don't put our description, we just put the name of the task, and then I click on send. Okay. So first of all, it says JSON pass error, blah 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 blah. This error is not is because we have a what's the name? This
A
query
comma.
comma. Yeah, that's the
Mhm.
reason why we have that error. So you can see it is a bad request, 400 bad request, and then it is sending the error message. What's the error message? Look at it over here. I said
Eh,
serializer.errors. So it's going to give us the error message that's associated with the error we have committed. So now that we've cleared that one, let's try and send another bad request again. Oh, this will not work. The reason why this
Cause you
is,
said
yeah,
no
because I
to
set it
true.
to null in the other time. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the task name instead, because that one is compulsory.
It doesn't have a default.
Yeah. So if I send that now, you can see it's telling you task name. This field is required. And what is the
Mhm.
error again? 400 bad requests. You see?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So primarily that is what we have done just now. So have you been able to what's the name?
Run the
Yeah.
postman. I don't know. I'm trying to sign in, and I'm having issues.
Okay, let me just give you some extra to 10 minutes. Let me post it so you can get all of that.
Okay, great. So you tested it already and it worked. Now let's
Yeah.
let's get to the other part of it, right? So now we've defined a post method basically. We've said that okay, if the user is adding data to our database, this is what you should do and all of that. But what if the user just wants to view data from our database? And that is where this the get method comes in, right? Because the get is just for them to view stuff. So please give me a minute, let me quickly. Okay, so we say elif because it's and it's a conditional statement, right? So say elif request dot method is equals to get. Great. So if the method is get, then we are going to do one or two things. So first of all, if the user is trying to get something from our database, then we are going to, oh, what should I do? Should I do it this way? Okay, yeah. So first of all, we are going to get all the objects in our database. The objects being that all the tasks that we have in our database. So I'm just going to say tasks is equals to task dot objects dot all. And I think I made a typo over here. Yeah, I did.
Object.
Yeah, dot all. Okay, so I made a typo down. Okay. So now, next thing that we're going to do is to serialize the, because this is going to return a query set, like I mentioned, it's going to return a query set. So we want to serialize our query set. So that we say serializer, right? is equals to with our task serializer. Then we are going to invoke it, and we are going to pass in what we want to serialize. So tasks. There will say many is equals to true. So what we're simply doing here is that we are getting all the objects, all the tasks from our database,
Okay.
and then we are serializing those objects. We are converting them to JSON. That's why we have this. That's why we're adding it here. So we convert it to JSON, and then when we've done that, the only thing left for us to do is to return it to the user, right? Because what it gets request basically means that I want you to give me. So we're just going to return the data, the requested data back to the user. So we're just going to return, then we'll call our response function, and what are we going to return here? We're going to return the serializer dot data. Okay, great. So that's all for the get method, and we should be able to do that. So let me just confirm that this has finished reloading. Okay, this is still reloading. Let's give it a minute. Yeah, that's an error. I actually stopped it. Hello. Oh, sorry. I'm so used to it. I'm running my server again. Okay, so we have our server running, and I'm going to open up Postman. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to send in a get request. So instead of post, I'll just click on get, and whether I have something in the body or not, it doesn't really matter. So I can as well delete this if I want. So send in a get request, and I'm going to click on send. And you can see that it is returning all the data that we have in our database. So you can see from the first task, that's when I say clean the house, then the second task, then the third task, right? And that is primarily
Hello.
everything. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, but I can't see like your postman. I'm only seeing your CMD.
That's my postman. Are you sure
Nope.
it's not? Are you sure it's not your network? Can you see it now?
Mm, probably my network.
Oh, crap. Sorry. Apparently, I paused my presentation. I don't know how. I paused it, but now you should be able to see it.
Mm.
Can you see? Can you see? Can you see it now?
Have you opened it?
Yeah, it's representing. Oh, I didn't know you could post presentation on Google Meet.
You discovered.
Okay, let me unpin this so it doesn't interfere. Okay. Wait, so what I basically did is I changed this from post to get, right? And I explained that whether or not you have anything in the body, like we add for the post request. Let me try and minimize this. Yeah. So whether or not you have anything in the body is not, it doesn't really matter because it's not even look at it at all because we're not sending anything to it. So we just click on send, and then when you click on send, it's going to return all the data because that's what we are trying to do. It's going to return all the data. So look at it over here. Return the text and
Yeah, I can
items that we
see.
have. Okay. So let's assume, for instance, we only want to return the data that is that are all the incomplete data. I mean, incomplete tasks. Are the incomplete tasks? So what I'm just going to do is instead of saying the object dot all, we just say filter, right? To say is underscore completed, because that's the name of the field that we are using, is completed,
Mm-hmm.
is equals to false.
True. Oh,
Do you understand what I did here?
I thought you wanted to show the completed task. Well, yeah, I understand what you're doing.
Okay. So now if okay, it should be reloading actually. It's reloading. So let's wait for it to reload. Okay. So if I send it now, you can see I was only returning the first and the third. And that's because I gave it a condition. I should only return data that have not been completed, that are incomplete. Do you get now?
Yeah.
Great.
Yes.
Yeah. So just to let you know that it's not only everything can, you can as well decide I want to limit the number of data and all of that. So next class, let me just put it here before, because I can't forget. So pagination. Next class we're going to talk about pagination. Okay. Let me just leave this like this. Great. So have you tested it out? And I want to test it out before we continue.
Mm, come.
So let me pause this. Let's continue since it is working on your end as well. I'm just now, we could have as well come here and defined all our four methods here in this simple view. But the reason why we didn't do that is, let's consider the other views: delete and update. Right? We want to delete tasks, we want to just be able to update in the sense that I want them to be able to edit. And in order for that to happen, we need to access a specific task. What it means is that, right now with the view that we have right now, if we send a get request, it's just giving us everything. We are not able to access a specific one by the ID or anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we need to be able to access it either by an ID or a slug or anything basically. And that's why we're going to create a separate view. Because if we create it over here, right, it's going to affect this our guest method. They're going to see it in a minute. So I'll call this task detail. So we'll define it. Task detail request. And this time around, it's going to take in more than one parameter. It's going to take in request and then task ID. I'm sorry. So now this task ID, you can decide to call it whatever you want, to be honest. You can just say ID, you can say pick. It's up to you. Totally up to you. But for readability sake, I'll call it task ID. Now, what do we want to do? Why are we using the ID? We're basically using the ID in order for us to have access to a
Get it, but
specific task. Can you hear me?
yeah.
In
Yes.
order for us to, so you were saying something?
No, I was just trying to like add to what you about getting it. Task.
Yeah. So now, after this, we are going to define the task at hand. That's the specific. If you know something in this get request, I said tasks because I return more than one. But yeah, I'm calling it task. I try to um be mindful of that because it's just going to be one task that we're returning. So say task dot objects dot get. I think I explained this in one of our
Yeah.
first classes. Okay, so I didn't put the equal to sign. Great. So what are we going to get? We're going to get the ID. So we can say
I,
PK simply means the primary key is equals to task ID. Okay. So let's go over this. So normally, if it's a task that always just gets, you can say ID equals one, whatever. It's up to you. But I'm saying PK is equals to task ID. PK simply means primary key, and that is simply our ID. Our ID is the primary key by default. So I'm trying to say that if the value that whatever the value of this task ID that the user passes, right? If it corresponds with anything that we have as um, in our database, then return it. So if, for instance, the user sends in an ID of 5, then with our current data, we know that it's not going to return anything. Why? Because we don't have anything that has an ID of 5. Everything we have stops at 3. That's the highest that we have. Stops at 3. So that is that. Then the next part, we're now going to start defining the methods. So we'll start with the get method. I'll say if request the method is equals to get. So what are we going to do now?
you return, you serialize the object I get,
Yeah, we'll serialize
and
the
then you
object and then return it. So I'm just going to copy this guy over here. Okay, supposed to be double equals to, sorry. So I'm going to remove something, and that is this many is equals to true, because we're returning just one, and nothing like many.
Mhm.
And I'm going to change this to task, not tasks. Then finally we're going to return the response. What's the response? Serializer.data. Just copy this guy. Let's paste it in. So this task over here is the same thing that is here. I defined it outside of the conditional statement here, so I can be able to use it in other parts as well, because I will most likely
Yeah.
be using it. Great.
Use it. Yeah.
Yeah. So now let's just test this get method first. So let's go to the URLs.
Let me API to the function.
Oh, thank you very much. I sincerely forgot. Thank you. Would have gotten an error just now. So API view. Then what are the methods that we're going to define? What do you think the methods should be?
Get
Okay.
is it a get method
Yeah.
and put to update, get, put to update or edit, and I'm not sure if it's correct.
Yeah. Put is to edit. Put is to update. Update. When you're updating something, you are basically editing it at the same time. So just we use put for that, and then finally we delete. Okay. So we have this done already. Let me check if this is okay. It's currently reloading. Okay. So now, oh, I've not defined the URL pattern for it. So that's what I was about to do. So we have to define the URLs that we want to use for our view. So how do we do that? We come over here and to say path. This one is going to be quite different from what we have done before. So we'll say, what should we call it? Uh, task slash, I don't know. I'm just going to say, I'm going to say list again. Of course, you should use better names. Then I'm going to put another slash. Sorry, there's a mistake there. So I'm going to put another slash. Zainab, can you hear me? Zainab, she's still on this call. Oh crap, I lost my network. Let me just pause this and try. Yeah, okay, so back to it now. Back to it. So I was saying, we define a new URL pattern basically. And I was kind of struggling with a name for this, so I just decided to give it list as well. Then I was saying after the list, you give it a slash because at this point now, you want to identify the what's the name? You want to identify the specific task that we are accessing from our URL. And in our views, we mention something. That's why we define this task ID basically, right? So we're going to pass in this task ID as part of our URL. Do you understand?
Yes. Like a parameter.
Yeah, like a parameter. So the way to do that is like this. We use angle brackets, right? And then inside the angle brackets, we define on the left hand side we define um the data type
In
because it's an integer. So define data type now,
yes.
and then what we expect, that's the task ID.
ID.
Yeah. So now I want you to understand something. So because I'm defining int over here, it does not necessarily mean that it has to be integer. I'm using integer because the ID is an integer by default, so that's what I'm expecting. It's also possible for you to define strings, I think str, like this. That's if, for instance, if you're using, and slugs as well. I think I will try and teach you how to use slugs. You know when you go to website
Slugs.
and use, yeah, you know what a slug is?
Nope. At all.
So you know sometimes when you go to a website or a blog and then you see maybe make use of .com slash how to fix indentation error in Python, right? That slash, then the part where you put the where the title is in the URL.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that is a slug basically. So you can also define a slug if you want. So I'm just like letting you know that you are not limited to the integer. Okay. So for now we'll stick with integer, and then as time goes on, we'll most likely move on from that. So what did I call my view? I think I call it task detail. Okay,
Yes, that's the
let me just confirm so I don't so we don't meet any mix. Yeah. Okay, great. That's what I called it. So back here. So I'm just going to grab this page, paste it in. Then going to give it a name. Question. Task detail. Great. So now we have this, and in order to access um the task, the any of the tasks basically, you just pass in the ID. So if you pass in an ID of one, for instance, pass in one, yes, and I click on send. Okay, this guy is still removing. Sorry, it's still removing. So let's give it a minute again. Okay, it's done. So now I can send it in. Can you mute your mic for a bit, please? I think the um feedback from the fan is a bit much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you can see now that at this point it's just returning one for us. It's just returning one task for us. So if I come back and I say return the third task, that's with the ID of 3. Then you can see it's returning the third task that I added to the database. So so for instance, if for instance there's a front end or something where um you want a situation whereby there's a page where the user can view all their tasks, and then when they click on a specific task, it takes them to where they can see more information about that task or perform whatever it is they want to perform about the task. That's when you can use something like this, right? So when they click on it, it will just go take them to wherever they want to. Awesome.
I'm getting an error.
You're getting an error. Okay, share your screen and let's see if you can quickly debug it in 1 minute. What does
Hello?
the error say? What does the error say?
Oh wait. I think it's from my end. Yeah,
Okay, you fixed it.
I made a mistake. Yes. I
Okay.
used object instead of object.
Oh, oh, oh. Okay, so we've done that. We've what's the name? What's the use? So we've defined the get method now. Now the next method we want to do is um let's do the delete method
Put.
first. Now let's do the delete method first. The delete method is pretty easy to work on. So let's come here and say
Oh,
elif request the method is equals
hello,
to, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. So if request the method is equals to delete,
Mm.
I put a tab by mistake. Okay. So if it's equals to delete, then what we want to do is very simple. Just say task dot delete. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. And then obviously we are going to return something. So what we want to return right now, what do you think we should return? What kind of response?
And we could just return.
Okay.
We could just return deleted. Sorry. Can
Mm,
you hear me?
yeah. Okay. So when I'm
Hello.
saying what we should return, can you hear me? Yeah, I can hear you clearly.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm talking of
So I said
yeah. I heard what you say. You said we should return deleted. Abi.
task deleted. I thought you're asking what we could send.
Yeah. Okay. So primarily, what I was talking about was like what kind of status. Okay. I think you sent a message. Let me just.
Um,
Bro, I lost my network again. Let
I
me
don't.
pause this thing and get back to. Yeah, I lost it. Yeah, yeah, I can hear you. My network
Can
is
you
bad.
hear me?
Yes, please. Oh, Nigeria. Network will mess you up. Oh. Okay, so what I was thinking was in terms of the status responses. You know, when we created, when we had a post request, we said if it's successful, return a 201 created, created basically. And if it's not successful, return bad request. So at this point, if we delete something, then it simply means that there is no content for it if a user is trying to get to it. And okay, so the thing with HTTP responses is that if you see anything around 200, know that your request was successful. So if I'm deleting a task right now, it means and the task deletes, we've sent a successful request, right? Then what kind of successful request? This one you can see 201 created. So at this point, it was successful, but there is no content because we have deleted it. So we just say return. Do you understand what I explained?
No, sorry, can you come again?
Okay. So I was saying when you think of HTTP status, like the responses and all of that, like the ones we used for the push request. Whenever you see anything along the lines of 200 that starts with 2, basically, because there are many 200, 201, 203, 204, like that. So if it starts from 2, it simply means that your request was successful. But then there are different types. You see, if you notice when we did the get request, what it did give was 200 okay, meaning your request was okay, right? Then when we did a post request, we saw 201 created. It simply means your request was successful and we have created it. So now we are deleting. When we are deleting, we are primarily removing the content that was previously there. So the type of response we are going to send now is number one, it is a successful response. So because our task was deleted successfully, right? So we know that we are starting from 2 something. So which one are we deleting? I mean, which one are we sending primarily? We are sending the one that says no content because we have removed the content and there's nothing for the user to view. Do you understand?
Yes.
Okay, great. So now we say status is equals to status, that's the one we imported, dot http 201 no content. Oh, I said 201. Sorry, it's supposed to be 204. Supposed to be 204. Sorry, 204 no content. Right. So basically, if you want to know how it works, so you can just click on it. For instance, this 204 no content. Click on it, press F12, and you see if there is anything for it. And sure enough, there is. You see, so you're going to return 204 error. So you can go ahead and read it if you want. Try to understand. You can see
You say F12.
F12, yes, F12. So you can see
Uh, my F12 is working for something else.
on PS4.
Yeah, F12 is just in brightness.
Okay, so there should still be something else you can do. Click on it, then right
Yeah.
click. When you right click, you
Oh,
should see something as go
go.
to definition. So you see the shortcuts for your system. Go to definition. It should take you there.
It's telling me no definition.
No definition
Yep.
for this
Yes.
for this guy over here.
For content, HTTP. Yes.
Okay. So maybe we'll come back to it. And you're using a
Mm-hmm.
virtual environment.
Yes, I'm using my virtual environment.
Maybe we'll come back to it after the class, basically. I don't want to because we used over 2 hours. I mean almost 2 hours. Yeah. So I've said task.delete, you've returned our response. So we just go to postman. Let's see if this guy is okay, it's working. So go to postman, we'll change whatever it is that we have here, and we go to delete. So now this is the task that we want to delete, /2. So because it means whatever ID you pass here is going to be deleted. The task relating to that ID will be deleted. So if I click on send, it should have deleted. Okay, let's just see if it's still in the, because it's returning. Let me see if it's still in the so I can't send the delete request. I can't send the delete request here. Yeah, delete not allowed. Okay, so now let me see if we run the delete operation on the screen. Okay, see. Okay, let's go back. Delete task one. Then I'm not returning a 200 okay now. Oh, yeah, I'm not returning a
I think it's
200.
returned.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's returning the wrong this thing for me. I don't know why. Or did I not spell delete properly? I'm coming. Maybe it has to do with the trailing comma or the trailing slash. Okay, it was the slash. I think that's how this shit happens. So it was the slash that I didn't add. So you can see now that it returned zero content because you deleted the zone there, and the status over here says true for no content. The server has successfully processed the request, but is not returning any content. That's what it means. Okay, so we have successfully been able to get and have successfully been able to delete. Now we are going to come to the put method right now. This will be the final method for today. So say elif request the method is equals to put. Okay. So what is the first thing we should do? What is the first thing you think we should do?
I think get the object from the database and edit it.
Okay. So first of all, we've gotten the objects from database already. That's what we have over here. You know, I told you that I defined it outside of the condition, so I don't have to keep defining it everywhere. So we have this
Oh,
already, right?
get the. Oh, sorry, wait, continue.
No, let me hear what you have to say. Come on.
I wanted to say, don't worry, I forgot what I.
Okay. So um, we'll say serializer would now be equal to number one. We'll say task serializer, and this time around we're going to take in two things. Number one, that is the object that we get, right? Task. Because we want to serialize more than one. First of all, we want to be able to serialize when user sends a get request or a put request basically. The user first of all will get the data that was requested, right? Because a put request. You get the data that was requested and then you are able to edit it. So the data requested is this task here. And then by the time you edit it, what you are doing at that point is that you are sending a post request because you edit and you save, right? So you are sending in new data. Although in, if you look at it, it's not exactly new data, right? Because you are just editing what you previously have. But when if you think about it again, it is new in the sense that it is not the same thing that was there before. So the first time you send a put request, right, it will invoke a get request for you. That's when you are able to see the data that you requested. Next, you would when you edit and then you save, you're going to send a push request to the server, and the server will process it like you should process a push request. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, good. So first of all, we're going to take in task, we're going to serialize that, and then we're going to serialize the data that the user sends, request or data. Because by the time the user edits it, it's no longer the same data. So we're going to do that. Then we are going to do what are we going to do next?
Mm,
Let's do
okay.
something. Okay. Let me help you. So what we're going to do is we're going to check if the data is valid, because remember there's a post request involved now. It's not just when there's a push request involved. So we have to make sure that whatever the user is sending back to us is valid, right? So we'll say if serializer dot is valid. Now if it's valid, what are we going to do?
If it's valid, um, so this request the data. That's like data from. I'm confused with
Okay,
this request.
it is coming from the user now. This is our method is taking a request parameter. So
Yes.
the data that is coming in is the updated data.
Okay.
You understand? So it's the updated data, and it's going to, because when, for instance, if you have a blog and then you have an article, then you are updating the article. By the time you are done updating, you click on save or submit, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you click on that button, an action is being performed. You are sending data. That is a push request. So you are sending data to the server. So the server is going to read your data as request.data. You understand now?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's basically what request data is. So then we say serializer dot save. Yeah, simple as that. Then we are going to return some nonsense stuff. Print serializer dot data. That this is valid, and if it's not valid, we return a 400 error. Some bad request. So if it's not valid, we return a 400 error. Sorry. Okay. So this is currently reloading. Let's give it a minute. Okay, we have done this. So let's get back to this. So we've deleted the task with the ID of one. So first of all, let's just make sure we don't delete anything unnecessary. We'll go to put, change this to put, and then we'll say ID 2. So let's send in the request now. Okay, 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 okay. Okay, so I don't remember what we have in our. I forgot to do this. I don't remember what we have in our task basically, but we'll just change it to something like the task name is equals to what's going on. Um, why did you take that now? Zainab, are you there? I hope I did not lose my network.
Yes.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so we'll come here and then we'll update the name to say get new network. Okay, so oh, I'm using equals to what the heck? So it's supposed to be a colon because it's a dictionary or a JSON as JavaScript guys are calling it. So passing the description as well, task description. For some reason, it is slower than it should be. So I'll just say no. I think Postman is just messing with me. Who has typed in now? So what's going on? Okay, then we can update it. I think initially we had this set to, is it true or false? I'm not remember. I can't really remember. You say is completed. I'll just say true for now. So it's getting on my nerves. Okay, true for now. So I think we don't have any syntax error. So if I send the request now, okay. So you can see that the task we have with the ID of 2 has actually been updated. Are you still here?
Yes.
Okay, great. So you can see it has actually been updated. So if, for instance, we want to update a different part of this task, let's say once we've completed the task and now want to mark it as complete, right? You can just come here. I mean, we realize that we've not completed the task, sure, and then we want to go back and mark it as incomplete. We say false, and then and no, this should do no. So I'm thinking it should.
I don't know. Since you have the two, it's not supposed to work.
It should. But the other time, okay, the other time I didn't specify anything, sure. So yeah, so it's not going to work unless I define a task name because it wants to save everything together primarily. So we have to define all three fields. So let's just come over here and let me do a Control Z. I'm just going to come here and change this to false. Because when you think about it, if you're updating, let's use the example of the article I mentioned. If you're updating an article, every single thing is actually there, even if it's just one thing that you want to change, right? By the time you submit it, it's submitting all the information at once. So if I send this request now, okay, great. So you can see that it's changed from true to false. So now users can update or edit their task and do whatever stuff it is that they want to do with it. So do you understand what I've done so far, or do you need any other explanation? Any questions? Zainab?
Yes, I understand. But you said that I mean, but with this food, you have to change like everything there. It's not just supposed to be like just one.
Okay. So let's if you have um you're on Twitter right now and you want to update or edit a Twitter post or something, right? Let us do a Twitter post. Let's say you have a blog. I love using blogs. You have a blog and then you
Mm-hmm.
go to the interface, you click on edit and you try to edit it, right? You know, normally that's going to be a form, right? By default, it's going to be a form. When you click on edit, bring the form to you where you can either edit the title or the content. So let's assume it's just the content you want to edit, and then you edit one part of the content and you click on submit. By the time you submit, right, it's not just submitting that content part alone, it's submitting everything. Because it's a form, it's
Oh,
submitting
okay.
both the title, the subtitle, and whatever else it is that is on your article. You get, so it's submitting everything at once.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's the same way the API is working. You understand?
Oh.
Yeah. So primarily that's how the API is working. Yeah. Okay. So are there any other questions?
Um, no, I don't have any other question.
Okay. So I think we've been able to achieve quite a number of things in this class. So in the next class, I'm going to set pagination slugs. So our next class is going to be on Sunday, Abby. Slugs. Then
Sunday.
yeah, it's on Sunday. So I don't forget these two guys, I'm going to um I wrote them down. So I'm going to push this to GitHub later tonight, and I'm going to send in an assignment for you as well. Let me just
Okay.
stop the recording.